Interesting thing to ask you because I've heard conversations that have made me question this. Fans will debate a lot who's better, Aiyuk or Aiyuk or Purdy, who's better, Aiyuk or Deebo. But when talking about how much more smooth sailing the 49ers offense has been since the return, now it wasn't just of Deebo, it's of Trent and Deebo, which I think is important. But the offense has flown a lot better. And we did kind of talk about in absence of Deebo, Kyle didn't seem to trust any other playmakers with his role. Like he wasn't giving his role to Ray McLeod, which we've seen happen in previous seasons. So I was
Mhm.
just wondering if you could put your head, this is completely hypothetical. We're just playing a what if game, but if you could put your mind in Kyle Shanahan's head, do you think that Kyle Shanahan has more trust for Deebo or for Aiyuk?
I think this is a very, very intriguing question because it's not who do you think is the better player. It's not who do you think fits more for the offense. It's who do you
Yeah.
think Kyle Shanahan trusts more. So I think this
Yeah.
is a good question. To me, the way that I look at it is I think Kyle Shanahan what does he like the most out of his offense? What does he kind of want to get the most out of his offense? And I think Christian McCaffrey has kind of helped prove he likes these versatile positionless players. I think that's inherent because it allows him to be more creative, and that's where you can scheme up more opportunities potentially for them. As for trust, I think he trusts Brandon Aiyuk more because I think Brandon Aiyuk
Oh.
provides a bigger capability. But as for role, I think Kyle Shanahan likes to scheme up more plays for Deebo Samuel because of what Deebo Samuel provides, but also because that's the role that Kyle Shanahan likes to be creative with. That's the way that I look at it. And I think you were alluding to, when you talk about the offense, Deebo Samuel has returned. The offense is kind of sparked up as of late. You see some multiple 30-point performances now over the past 3 weeks. I think that's intriguing, but I also think one point is important. I think Kyle Shanahan said this after the first win. I don't think that Deebo Samuel changes the outcome of the game like that much. Instead, what Deebo Samuel does, sorry, let me rephrase. Deebo Samuel definitely changes the outcome of the game. But I think what he does for this 49ers team more that Kyle Shanahan said is he changes the mentality and the mindset of this team. They're more energetic and like it's because they got a guy like Deebo Samuel out there. Now, I do think that Brandon Aiyuk is the more valuable player for this team. I do think Brandon Aiyuk is the guy who, if they're going to decide, I've been on this since last year. I do think he's the guy who, if they were going to decide, they should keep. I think he's the better receiver and things like that. But this question is a very intriguing question because I think it breaks down different things. I think Kyle Shanahan trusts Brandon Ayuk more because I think he trusts him to play his role to a T. His route running capabilities are something you can't ignore. His effort is something you can't ignore. Things like that. But I think he also likes to scheme up more opportunities for Deebo Samuel, given the creativity it allows him to go through.
I love that you notice that distinction of like trust versus the player maybe he likes the most or has the most fun calling plays for, and also which one is most impactful. Because all three of those could kind of have different answers depending on how you went with them. I agree. I think just like watching maybe the Debo sense being paid and stuff might have swayed Kyle Shanahan's trust in him a little bit. Where Brandon Ayuk, you feel like he's kind of been rising. Now he hasn't gotten paid yet, but and I guess I felt this way about Debo, but I do feel like Brandon Ayuk isn't the type of guy who would get played and then all of a sudden not have the like drive or will to continue bettering himself as a wide receiver and like holding himself up to his standard. But yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly where that question came from, but it does kind of frustrate me that Brandon Ayuk is still having games where he's only getting 4 targets, and I really would hope that, especially because we've seen in the most impactful games Kyle Shanahan go away from the player, and I do think in some of those games that player was Deebo Samuel. I'm thinking back to the Super Bowl. I think if he, even though he's a rookie, I think if he would have gotten more touches towards the end of that game, that could have changed the outcome. I'm thinking of the first, I think it was Rams game that they lost in the NFC Championship game, where Deebo was completely dominating the entire season and that game, and then inexplicably with 10 minutes left, got 0 touches. So I do think Kyle Shanahan has like a tendency to kind of go away from this player that is like carrying the team. I'm not necessarily saying that this year that's Aiyuk. I think I would actually say it's Christian McCaffrey right now. But I do think as a wide receiver that Brandon Aiyuk has earned his opportunities. And I think that he should be getting a minimum of like 6 targets per game. I'm always a little bit disappointed with how well he's playing when he doesn't get targeted as much. But I agree. I mean I love both players, but I just thought that was an interesting distinction. And I do agree that I think maybe for like who he is as a play caller, I think he might have more fun calling plays for Deebo Samuel, but I feel like maybe there's some pride in Brandon Ayuk's ascension. That's the right word. That Kyle Shanahan has.